This is the unbridled disaster of Conan's Tonight Show.
People.com reports Conan's last Tonight Show will be next Friday.
You know, it was like a marriage breaking up suddenly, violently, quickly, and I was just trying to figure out what happened.
If you're a big-time comedy fan, there's a good chance that you've at least dabbled in the universe that is late-night television. One of the biggest late-night talk shows of all time is The Tonight Show, which has been hosted by the likes of Steve Allen, Jack Paar, Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Jimmy Fallon, and the topic of today's video, the great Conan O'Brien. However, Conan's run on The Tonight Show, followed by its painfully quick demise, was certainly one of the most bizarrely handled and frustrating situations to take place in the world of late-night entertainment. The worst part of all of this is that Conan O'Brien had to bear the brunt of this horribly mishandled situation, and the fans of The Tonight Show were not pleased with this messy flip-flop decision made by NBC. If you don't know the story of how Conan got The Tonight Show, and then very shortly thereafter lost it in a disastrous fashion back to Jay Leno, then you've come to the right place. I will be dissecting the situation and how it happened in today's video. If that sounds interesting to you, then let's hop right into it and get down to the nitty-gritty details. To begin with, picture this. It's early in the year 2009, and Conan O'Brien is currently hosting Late Night on NBC, where he was working since 1993. Bars. These 16 years allowed Conan to really establish himself as a dominant force in the world of late-night television, because before Conan was hired to host Late Night, all he had done was write for Saturday Night Live and The Simpsons. He really didn't have any credibility on camera until Late Night, so NBC really did put their neck out by taking a chance on the young Conan O'Brien. As his time went on and he became cozier and more proven at NBC, he would then have a lot more leverage when it came to discussing his tenure and contract stipulations. This came to benefit Conan because it would make it much easier for him to negotiate a better deal for himself with NBC, and he was even able to use this to get The Tonight Show in 2009 when Jay Leno finished his 17-year run as the host. Jay Leno would not find out about this decision until 2005, just 4 years before his reign on The Tonight Show was set to end, and apparently in 2007 he would start to second-guess this decision to leave The Tonight Show, given him being offered supremely lucrative deals from several other networks, and also being the current ratings leader in late-night TV. To accommodate Jay's exit, it was then announced that he would be moving to a primetime slot at 10 p.m. and hosting his very own show titled The Jay Leno Show, and with that news, Conan O'Brien was announced as the replacement at the hosting chair for The Tonight Show, which would always air at 11:35 p.m. Conan was ecstatic, given that one of his lifelong dreams was to host The Tonight Show, but at this point, with Jay Leno and Conan both crushing the ratings at NBC, it's conceivable to think that if Conan didn't feel as strongly about The Tonight Show as he did, that he could have certainly secured a much better deal at a different network and avoided all of the bullshit that was about to come his way. Then on June 1st, 2009, Conan would host the very first episode of The Tonight Show, which would prove to be a massively successful first episode, riding the hype wave of Conan's debut. However, it would not take long for the ratings to start to suffer and tumble downward. In fact, after the first week, The Late Show with David Letterman would surpass the ratings of The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, which was not a common occurrence. One of the biggest issues with Conan as the host of The Tonight Show was that he had a much more awkward and quirky sense of humor, which appealed to a much younger demographic and audience of mainly young men from 18 to 35 years old. This was a highly coveted demographic, which was more valuable, but the conflict was that Jay Leno's style of humor was more conventional and appealed to a much older audience of people who regularly viewed The Tonight Show, and Conan was not having quite the same reach for this type of older audience. Additionally, Jay Leno's new talk show would start on September 14, 2009, and would see marginal ratings and be heavily lampooned by critics. With the ratings of The Tonight Show and The Jay Leno Show being quite low, NBC panicked and would then proceed to make one of the worst decisions in late-night history. They had announced a plan to take The Jay Leno Show, which originally had a runtime of 60 minutes and aired at 10 p.m., and reduce the runtime to 30 minutes while also moving it to 11:35 p.m., which conflicted directly with the time slot of The Tonight Show, which was also 11:35 p.m. And to remedy this, they would also be moving back The Tonight Show to 12:05 a.m. the next day after The Jay Leno Show, which more than likely would have been an absolute ratings death sentence for Conan and his younger audience. Conan would immediately voice his concerns and opposition to this plan by saying that The Tonight Show at 12:05 a.m. simply would not be The Tonight Show anymore. Conan made a statement about the decision where he basically stated that he strongly believes that this decision would damage the integrity of The Tonight Show and would also be greatly unfair to Jimmy Fallon because The Tonight Show would then affect the integrity of The Late Night Show, which had also had the same time slot for many years. Conan was then told that he could either accept the time slot or leave the company, and Conan stood on his principles and walked away from NBC after almost 2 decades of working at the company. Conan handled this tough decision with a lot of class, and this combined with his stellar reputation on late night TV led to a tremendous amount of public support outpouring for Conan O'Brien, despite NBC refusing to let it alter their decision-making process. Then after heavy negotiation on January 21st, 2010, Conan would sign a nearly $50 million settlement deal with NBC, which would allow him to part ways with the company, but one of the stipulations of this deal was that Conan would not be allowed on any other network until at least September 1st, 2010. Conan would have to wait quite a while before he could comment on the decision that NBC made, given the contract he signed. Of the money Conan was paid, a portion of it would go to his staff, and in the meantime, Conan and his staff would plan out a nationwide comedy tour in April 2010, given this being one of the only outlets that Conan could legally use under contract. This led to the tour being titled the Legally Prohibited from Being Funny on Television Tour. It was no surprise that all of Conan's shows would sell out, and it was well deserved when you consider the late night legacy that Conan had built in a little less than 2 decades. After the time had elapsed, Conan made sure to let his opinion be heard on 60 Minutes as soon as he was allowed to speak again. And despite the situation with Jay Leno taking back the show and NBC totally screwing him over, he would still show the utmost respect and class to Jay while still speaking honestly about the situation at hand. I'll show you a snippet of that here.
The biggest thing people come up and say to me in gas stations and restaurants, I have so many people say this to me, "Hey, partner, you got screwed." And I always tell them, no, I didn't. I didn't get screwed. I'm fine. It didn't work out.
Well, you did get screwed.
You think I got screwed.
Well, I think most people think you got screwed. I mean, Jay Leno thinks you got screwed. Jay Leno thinks he got screwed.
Jay's got The Tonight Show. I have a beard and an inflatable bat, and I'm touring city to city. Who can say who won and who lost? I'm laughing because crying would be sad.
Do you think that Jay lobbied for this?
I don't know, but what I know is what happened, which is that he went and took that show back.
Do you believe he acted honorably during all of this?
I don't think I can answer that. I can just tell you maybe how I would have handled it, and I would do it differently.
You wouldn't have come back on The Tonight Show.
If I had surrendered The Tonight Show and handed it over to somebody publicly and wished them well, and then would not have come back 6 months later. But that's me, you know. Everyone's got their own, way of doing things.
It's nice to see Conan took this right on the cheek, and he continued in his polite demeanor and never said an unkind word about Jay Leno. Well, I guess outside of this.
Is this a telegram? It's from Jay Leno. Hope stand-up's going well. Ha, see, it's not so hard after all. Anyone can do it. What's it like to have a soul? I don't even know what he's... And I just want to say to the kids out there watching, you can do anything you want in life. Yeah, unless Jay Leno wants to do it too. He is watching every second. Dave looked unhappy.
I guess those are more of a comment, really. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's testament to how good of a man Conan was because he could have played the victim card and disparaged the people that wronged him after the appropriate amount of time had elapsed, but even in his closing segment on The Tonight Show, he gave a heartfelt goodbye, and I'll show you some of that here.
Between my time at Saturday Night Live, The Late Night Show, and my brief run here on The Tonight Show, I've worked with NBC for over 20 years. I am enormously proud of the work we've done together, and I want to thank NBC for making it all possible. I really do. And I'll be honest with you, walking away from The Tonight Show is the hardest thing I have ever had to do. Making this choice has been enormously difficult. This is the best job in the world. I absolutely love doing it. And I have the best staff and crew in the history of the medium. I will fight anybody who says I don't. Every comedian dreams of hosting The Tonight Show. And for 7 months, I got to do it. And I did it my way, with people I love. I do not regret 1 second of anything that we've done here. And all I ask is one thing, and I'm asking this particularly of young people that watch. Please do not be cynical. I hate cynicism. For the record, it's my least favorite quality. It doesn't lead anywhere. But if you work really hard and you're kind, amazing things will happen. I'm telling you, amazing things will happen.
The part I love the most is him wishing for people who support him to not be cynical. I think that's a beautiful thing because in a situation like this, it would be very, very easy to become cynical. Conan also had the support of all of his fans and all of the comedians who he had supported for many years during this tough situation. In fact, one of Conan's favorite comedians and best friends was there to support him, none other than Norm Macdonald. When Conan learned that Jay Leno was getting The Tonight Show, Norm came in and crashed the party to help Conan feel better, and he did this very splendidly. I'll show you the appearance Norm made and how funny it was.
I'm excited. Hey, it's...
Well, I want to drop by, show my respects, you know?
Well, you know, for you to bring a basket commemorating sort of the tough situation I'm in is really nice.
Yeah. Well, that's not what that is. Oh, this is an older basket. I procrastinate, as you know. And this is a basket I got you back in June.
Wait a minute. Norm, you've had this basket since June?
Yeah.
I've seen you. You've been on the show like 3 times. Why didn't you ever give me the basket?
I keep forgetting it. Congratulations, Conan, on finally securing your place as permanent host of The Tonight Show. That's something they can never take away from you. It is perhaps the shrewdest programming decision ever made by the NBC Brain Trust. Sure, the pressure is on, but if I know you, Conan O'Brien, miserable failure is not an option. You are the new king of late night.
Thank you.
Long live the king.
So Norm knew Conan was going through a tough time, and he brought him a gift basket that he said he was supposed to give him when he got The Tonight Show, and he's giving it to him the same night he finds out that he's losing The Tonight Show. Absolutely hilarious. He also writes a note that basically praises Conan while also subtly saying that NBC is making a huge mistake by doing this. Truly a heartwarming moment from our favorite old chunk of coal, Normie. Jay Leno would then pick up where he left off on The Tonight Show on March 1st, 2010, and just 4 months later The Tonight Show would see its lowest ratings since 1992. It's worth noting that these ratings were even lower than Conan's in his short run on The Tonight Show, so NBC definitely felt the heat of their decision a few months after it was finalized. It would get worse because the Los Angeles Times would also write an article about how The Tonight Show with Jay Leno was now starting to lay off employees and became less and less profitable as time went on due to Jay losing a lot of his core audience he originally had in the early 2000s. Then, to the surprise of no one, Conan would be offered an incredibly lucrative deal from TBS to do his own late night show titled Conan, where he had a lot more creative freedom than he did when he was at NBC. Conan's show was very profitable and he would remain on TBS for the remainder of his career hosting late night TV shows. And Jay would give up The Tonight Show to Jimmy Fallon just a few years after hosting it again to a drastically diminished viewer base. Conan fought like hell to keep his spot on The Tonight Show and insisted that he be given a fair chance, but sadly it didn't work out for him. Not to mention, Jay Leno sat there and watched this whole thing transpire without really fighting for Conan at all, despite him happily handing off the show to Conan in 2009. This contributed to a lot of people losing respect for Jay Leno, and certainly a contributing factor to the reason some people have a blemish on their view of Jay as a late-night host and as a professional comedian as well. This decision by NBC is notoriously known for being one of, if not the biggest fuck-up in late-night television history. They fumbled the bag with Conan O'Brien, who could have changed the entire scope of The Tonight Show and its audience if he was given an ample opportunity at doing so. What do you guys think about Conan losing The Tonight Show? Do you think Jay Leno handled the situation correctly? You think Conan should have been a little bit harder on NBC and Jay on his interviews? Quick announcement, guys. I'll be streaming tomorrow, May 5th, Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about comedy-related stuff or anything else you guys want to know about, talking about stuff in the comedy community, anything you guys could possibly want. I'm also going to be offering a StreamYard link, so So anybody watching the stream, if you'd like to jump on and talk to me for about 10 minutes or so, you can do that, and we can have a conversation about anything comedy related you want to. I'll answer any of your questions. But that's what we're going to be doing, so hopefully you guys can check out the live stream tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, May 5th. Be there or be gay. Anyway, if you guys liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. All in all, this was the unbridled disaster of Conan's Tonight Show.